Hello, hello. Welcome back to Loki's Librarian. If you are new here, welcome. I am your librarian, Katrina, and on Sundays I do a thing called Books and Booze, where I review a book and mix up a cocktail. We have reached the best month of the year, October. Fall is officially underway, and this week's book is Art of the Grimoire, an illustrated history of magic, books, and spells by Owen Davies. The accompanying cocktail is I Put a Spell on You Poison Apple Martini, which is 2 tablespoons spiced apple cider, 2 tablespoons pomegranate juice, 2 ounces of vodka or apple vodka. I went with the apple vodka. 2 teaspoons of maple syrup, edible gold glitter, and I am also going to be, since I couldn't find spiced apple cider, I brought up some cinnamon sticks, so I'm going to garnish it with the cinnamon stick also to get a little spice in there. So let's do this. You know, I found the curtain that goes there that'll help soften the bars of sunlight across my face. I need to hang that curtain now, I think, since I found it. Yes, this would be a good thing to do. We're going to actually put the maple syrup in first because that's thick, and everything else will help rinse it out. When I bought this book, I am not quite sure what I was expecting. I did browse through it before buying because I know I did not want a how to make a grimoire guide. I can read those for free on a dozen different websites if I was really interested in it. So I knew I didn't want to do that. Kind of eyeball this because I don't need 3 tablespoons. 3 tablespoons is about 1 tablespoon. There we go. That'll be doing. I'm going to say that's 2. So I knew it wasn't that because that's not what I always been interested in. And I did buy this at a local store, so I was able to look through it and go, okay, this might be interesting. And it was better than interesting. Davies starts by defining magic. He explains how the Greek magi, and I'm going to mispronounce a whole lot of words here, before magia, it's probably magoi. It's probably magoi. I'll bet you there's a hard G in there. Magoi performed magia, who in turn inherited their magical practices from Chaldea, which is ancient Babylon, specifically going back to the 9th century BCE. So, yeah, around the time of, all the Göbekli Tepe. yeah, there's a lot going on here, guys. Going all the way that far back, there's a very long history of belief in unseen forces and magic, and this book traces that, which was fascinating. My apple cider. Well, crap. Good news is I am prepared today. I somehow knew I would be a mess today, and I have a washcloth with me to clean it up as I go. So, anyways, so there's a very long history of that belief, and it pretty much grew and spread as humanity grew and spread. Which makes sense. I mean, atheism is actually a fairly modern development. I mean, I'm sure it existed. I'm sure there have always been scoffers and doubters. And that's fine, each their own. But it wasn't until humanity became much more connected on a global scale that those voices started getting any level of prominence. Pomegranate juice. I mean, even Marcus Aurelius, cited belief in the gods in his book Meditations, right? He references the gods several times in there. Sure, atheists did exist, but atheism as a popular movement is a very, 19th, 20th, 21st century. It's only in, the last 200 years that has gained any level of prominence. So having laid... and the comments on atheism are mine. That's not in the book, right? It's just from my own general knowledge. You would be hard-pressed to find prominent atheists anytime prior to the 20th century. And I know people like saying, oh, the founding fathers didn't believe in God, and that's categorically false, right? Provably false that they didn't believe in God. God, this cup is now sticky from everything. This is going to be a sticky cocktail. Having laid all of that out, Davies then says, quote, the global history of magic shows, in fact, how magic, religion, and science have always been interlinked. Well, okay. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I feel like I should have brought an actual teaspoon up here because this is... There we go, just a little bit. I don't need a whole lot, I don't think. Let me shake this up. It's not a very long review, so I want to get the cocktail going here so that I can, drink. Oh, that's very nifty looking. Yeah, you can see the edible gold swirls in there. It's fantastic. So, okay, I mean, agree to disagree. I think they were all linked up to a point. The magic, science, religion were all linked up to a point. But as Brian Marescu laid out in The Immortality Key, which I read 2 years ago, maybe it was 1 year ago. When did I read The Immortality Key? Last year. last December, right? So I read The Immortality Key, and as he laid out in The Immortality Key that the Catholics certainly played a part, or a fair part, in suppressing both science and magic in favor of religion. So basically, when the three legs of the pyramid are allowed to work in conjunction, magic, science, religion, then we have advancement. When one is suppressed in favor of another, we stagnate. All right, I think that's the point Davies was trying to make, and that one I'll buy. But saying they've always been worked in conjunction is a bit of a stretch, because the history of humanity shows that is provably false. It's very sweet, but surprisingly good. Oh, you know what? I need to get my, because I didn't have spiced, I got to get my cinnamon stick in there. Sacrifice of a cinnamon stick. Oh, bonus. If the gold dust hells, I can use the cinnamon stick to stir it up. So, that's not the topic of this book. This book traces magical writings from Babylon and Sumeria up to the digital age. It focuses primarily on the Eurasian continent, parts of North Africa and America specifically, basically as Europeans spread across the North American continent and into the various cultures that they had contact with. That's what he focuses on. It does not address magic as seen and practiced by Native American tribes on either North or South continent. It does not cover Australian Aboriginal magic and artwork and beliefs in magic. So it is primarily focused on the spread of magical writing. He was following where there's a written history of it through Central European base and with early contact with Europeans like China, Japan, India. And I think this is primarily because he is looking for the written documentation of magical beliefs. And as we learned from reading Graham Hancock's book, Fingerprint of the Gods, in 2023 also, I think, any written beliefs of the Native American tribes, both North and South, were pretty much wiped out when the Catholic Spanish rolled through and conquered those lands. Like the Spanish documented having burned all of those wonderful bits of knowledge, centuries of knowledge for the Mayans and Aztecs, and the Catholics burned it because it was, heresy. It was not Catholic. It was very sweet. Maybe I should have gone with the regular vodka. It's good, but it's very sweet. So he starts with cuneiform in Sumeria, and one of the outstanding features of this book are the pictures. There's a picture of a Sumerian cuneiform tablet that outlines magical stones and healing stones. So for those of you who follow crystals as a magical path, you're in good company. It goes all the way back to the very beginning, to Sumeria. The one in this book was dated to approximately 1000 BCE, at least the picture in this book. He includes incantation bowls for the purposes of exorcism from the 5th century BCE, which was commissioned by a Jewish Babylonian. So yes, if you're wondering, that is at least how old Judaism is. Definitely predates both Christianity and Islam. Grimoire magic progresses forward from clay tablets to ceramic bowls to bronze amulets to sheets of lead. Literally pound out fine sheets of lead and scribe into that, because lead's a relatively soft metal, all things considered, so it'd be fairly easy to scribe into. Birch bark scrolls, bone amulets, all of these resources were not as easy to come by as a 21st century college ruled notebook. And so magic and those that practiced it was kind of a finite resource back then, because not everybody had ready access to the resources needed to cast the spells. Or rather, they might have had access to like the bone shards and certain stones, but they may not have known that this stone is best used for that healing. And these animal bones should be used for certain castings. So they wouldn't have necessarily had that knowledge, because there was no World Wide Web to spread that knowledge. So basically it was passed down from apprentice to master, or master to apprentice, master to apprentice, through centuries until it became a more easily written out. And that's how he traces the history of magic through the Grimoire. Basically what would be a 50-page pamphlet in the 21st century would be stone tablets weighing in total of 120 pounds if carved out in cuneiform or clay tablets. So until there was an easy way to provide written transmission of instructions, everything was done via oral tradition. Right? Gradually, over time, this changed as humanity used science to progress magic and used magic to progress religion, and the unanswered questions in religion would then advance science. So it becomes this kind of circle, and I think that's what he was getting at when he said that. Because science gave us papyrus, which eventually led to parchment, and eventually led to paper and the printing press. And once there were easier ways to write out the knowledge, we started getting tomes of magic, calling on angels to protect humanity from demons. So science advances magic, which advances religion. So this book covers a range of spiritual beliefs and how those beliefs fed magic and magic fed back into spiritualism. And all of this through a series of absolutely fantastic pictures. Right? The book is just filled with photographs of these ancient beliefs and drawings of what our ancestors believed. No joke, I was about halfway through the book when it dawned on me that this book reads like a walk through a museum of occult and magical studies. Truly, there's an intro to each chapter followed by a series of pictures, each with an absolutely wonderful annotation of what you're looking at, mid-chapter breaks for continuing the theme of the chapter, and more pictures. And most of the pictures are truly stunning artwork. I mean, like, throw up a couple of pictures, like, look at this. I mean, how absolutely beautiful is that? And these were magical things, like literally intended to invoke magic. I'm not saying magical like, a Harry Potter whimsical magic. I'm talking magic. This is what people believed. And belief leads to results. For magic to work, it's not a passive thing, right? You're sending out a wish, I want more money. Well, you don't just, I want more money, light a candle, and then sit on your ass scrolling, Instagram all day. I want more money, and then you go to work and you bust your ass, and then maybe you get a promotion. Okay? So magic puts your wish out into the universe, but you still have to take action to make it happen. And that is kind of what this is covering. Now, you can't do a book about grimoires and not discuss the burning times, because as magic and grimoires spread, so did fear of witches, as pushed by the church. Science, magic, religion. As all three of these spread around the globe in the 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries, we've seen crazy advances in all three. And this is explored in this book, but most especially the magic, because, grimoire, right? That's famously a witch's magical text, right? They put everything into their grimoire. This is from which they draw their power, into which they record their spells. And this is famously shown in Hollywood again and again and again, right? You had the movie, was it the late 80s, early 90s, Warlock, where the bad guy is trying to reconnect the pieces of the Grand Grimoire so that he can, call upon the Armageddon, basically. And of course, the witch hunter travels through time to stop him. You have the nice and accurate prophecies of Agnes Nutter from Good Omens, which was essentially a grimoire. You have the Charmed, right, in the three Halliwell sisters. I think the Book of Magic was in every single episode of Charmed, because it was that central to the practice of magic. Practical magic, the Owen sisters refer the ants to the ants book to bring back the dead, and that, of course, causes all the other chaos that happens. In the craft, the girls read from magical books, from grimoires, to heighten their own power. And these ideas are as old as human written text, right? As long as we've been able to write things down, these have happened. Probably before we were able to write things down. It was just a very oral tradition until we started figuring out a form of written communication. And then gradually the writing spreads out. And those texts have become a lot more prolific as the means to communications. As the means to communicate, ideas have spread globally via the World Wide Web. And Davies even includes a picture of a grimoire page you can literally print out and use to write your own spells. And he includes links to websites that will create sigils for you. No joke. It's actually very cool. I went to one and I typed in a very long, very specific, let's do this. And it kicked out this absolutely gorgeous sigil, because science feeds magic, which feeds religion, right? Hence the rise of Wicca as a recognized religion. And as more is learned about humanity's past with magic, there is a surge of interest in other religions, not just Judaism, although there are forms of Hebraic magic, Christianity, there are such things as Christian witches, Islam. I'm not going to say, because I honestly don't know enough about Islam to say if there's magic practice there, although it's frowned upon, but there is still a very strong belief in genies, essentially, in Middle Eastern countries. Now, that's not necessarily a part of Islam, but the belief is still there as a form of folk magic, if you will. That's why they have Tsar rituals, is to cast out evil jinn, who are who have attached themselves to particular czar participants. It's believed when the czar musicians find the correct rhythm, you'll start to dance and you're dancing out the genie. Now, I don't discount the possibility of real magic. Not illusion, not sleight of hand, but real magic. Because I do believe there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy, Horatio. Judging by the book sales from publishers over the last 100 years, I am not alone in that belief. And maybe I'm a fool for it. Maybe we're all fools for it. But I am at least a happy fool for my belief in the unseen. Happier than most atheists are in their belief that the unseen does not exist. I quite like this book. Like I said, it reads like a personal walk through a museum. The curated artwork is stunning. And it was fascinating to see what we all believed 100, 1,000, 10,000 years ago. That's it for this week. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys next Sunday. Bye.